things. And I'm just here to tell you that you just don't know what you are really capable of until you finally put yourself in the right vehicle. And I know it was that way for me. You know, I'm not as good as all the success that I've been blessed with. It's more the vehicle, it's more the structure of what we have that's allowed us to accomplish the things that we've accomplished in this company and in our individual lives. So let's start off. I want to just give you a little bit of groundwork, okay? You know, somebody's thought a lot about you to have you come here tonight. They think you're positive, that you're coachable, that you're open, that you're willing to look at new things, and we hope you'll stay that way tonight as we go through the information. There's a lot of issues that are going on right now in the world, and there's a lot of issues in Europe, frankly, and we'll talk about some of those more towards the end of the presentation, but for the beginning right here, I want to put up this thing called a cash flow quadrant. You might know Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad, Poor Dad fame, you know, all the books and materials, and he really is the one that created this kind of a graphic, and it's really appropriate for our type of business because it describes where people spend their lives. I don't know if you're aware, but 94% of the people who work every day work for somebody else. They're employees. They rent their body and brain to a company for a chunk of money. And that's what happens. And the problem with doing that is that as long as you're willing to show up, it works, you know? As long as you work, it works. If you ever stop, it stops. And that's why we call it temporary income, because it only works as long as you show up. And what happens is that people end up trading time for money. And some people trade a big block of time called a year for a little block of money called a salary. And some people trade it by the hour for a wage. And some people do it by the job or a project and get paid when the project's completed. But everybody's trading time for money. And the problem is you don't have enough hours in your day to trade for money and try to make that exchange enough times in a day to ever create wealth. It's impossible. I don't care if you trade them at $500 an hour. It's still not enough because whenever you stop, it's done. It stops. There's nothing that continues onward. There's nothing recurring about that type of money. So when you're an employee, okay, if you just see over here, then you know you have no time and you have no money. It's a job, and a job's just a job, and it's always going to be a job, okay? And you're going to just go back and forth and working home back and forth every day, kind of like a rat on a treadmill. You'll pay your bills, take a little vacation, it's done, and you don't have anything. That's a job, okay? So that's the facts when it comes to that. You could say, well, I'll just retire, you know, I'll be retired or I'll be a student. That's great. You can have time when you're a student, perhaps, or when you're retired, but you don't have any money. So that doesn't work either. That's not that great of a situation, right? Most people finally get to the point after working long enough, 2, 3, 4 jobs, different careers, trying different things, that they finally say, I'll never make it financially working for somebody else. And that's true. They don't have to pay them enough to make you free, right? So they'll pay you enough to keep you coming back, basically. The only way you can get enough or you can get the upside is you have to have your own business. How many of you here tonight actually have your own small business? Anybody here? Okay, great, quite a few of you. Can I suggest that you actually don't own that small business, but rather it owns you? It's the first thing you think about in the morning. It's the last thing you think about at night. You're the first one there. You unlock the door. You're the one who locks it up at night, the last one to leave. You pay everybody else, and if there's anything left, maybe you pay yourself some money. And you realize after you started this thing that really it's never going to scale without a lot more time, money, risk, investment, all those things. It's just kind of a dumb little business, you know. And you bought yourself a 60 or 70 hour a week job and you took all the risk. That's what happens with most people that say, I need to work for myself. Few of these businesses are well conceived. And they actually really can scale and they grow and people become wealthy. That's how people get really rich, is in that process. But for most people, it doesn't end up that way with their own business. And if you have your own business, then you have no time. You might have a little money if it succeeds eventually, but you still won't have time. You got to sell it to get a life, right? So what we do is we do something called a business system. We use a system to create a network of consumption. And it's all based on real product consumption, all right? So it's a real business. like any other business. And when you have this business system, in the end, you can have time and money, but in the beginning, you don't have either. In the beginning, you got to work really hard. It's like any other business. You got to focus and you got to really work at it. It's kind of like taking a boulder, a big stone, and trying to push this stone up to the top of the mountain. It takes everything you've got to get this thing up there. And when you get to the summit, one last shove will send it over the other side. And as it goes down the other side, it gains momentum and speed, right? Gets more force as it goes. And that's exactly the way this business is. So here's the difference. This is the key right here. This business, you only have to work hard one time. That's the difference. And maybe that one time's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years for some people. Some people maybe even longer. It just depends on you and what you want to do with it, how fast you want to do it. But at the end of that time, you are done. You don't have to worry about money ever again in your life. You've created a network of consumption that just continues to put money in your bank account every month for as long as you live. And it's remarkable what it gives you, because finally you get time and money together. In this world, it seems like they're mutually exclusive. The twain will never meet, right? Either you have lots of money and no time. That's called overemployment. Or you have no money and lots of time. That's called unemployment. That doesn't work either. How do you ever get both of those together? The only way I've seen to do it is something like this. You know what those two together equal? Lifestyle. Because you have the money and the time to enjoy it. And time is the ultimate luxury. Time is the one thing people have not enough of, right? How do you get that? This is a way to get it right here. That's what's so unique about what we're doing today. All right, so we're going to talk about these 5 things. And I'm going to invite you to make your notes in these areas right here, all right?